Hi everyone, welcome to part 3 of puppet building Agoro style. In this video we'll be looking at sewing. This will be a fairly bare bones video because I don't think you need to see footage of me spending hours and hours sewing the pieces together. And yes, this will take hours. So when you start, it's good to find a comfortable seat, put on some music, maybe a movie, and just begin, one piece at a time, which is what I did. This tutorial will move quickly, so get used to pausing and rewinding from time to time. And to help the process move along just a little bit smoother, I've provided some documentation. You can see it here on screen or via a link below, or through the official website www.agorothephobicmonster.com. You may have heard of several sewing and stitching techniques, but for this tutorial we'll be using the whip stitch. To sew these pieces together, all you'll need is a sturdy needle and upholstery thread. If you want to have a look at the materials I use, check the supplies list via the on-screen link or in the description below. In terms of the thread, make sure you do have a fairly heavy-duty thread, because puppets get pulled at and thrown around more than you'd think. And now, on to sewing. When you begin to stitch, every thread that you use needs a knot at the bottom in order to anchor the thread, like so. For good measure, once you thread the pieces together, I like to loop around a few more times on the same spot, just to make sure it doesn't unravel. When working with fur, always try to keep the fur hair on the inside of the stitch line, because when you're done, it'll make hiding the seam that much easier. If you've stitched the seam properly, it'll end up looking something like this. And of course, be mindful when sewing less robust materials like felt, satin, and fleece. We'll get to each of those soon. Now that you know the whip stitch technique and what to look for, I'm going to cover each piece of fabric and show you how I would approach sewing them. The head. Sew the darts at the top first. Then sew from the bottom lip to the front of the neck, and finally sew from the top lip to the back of the neck. I base the decision on where to start sewing on what area will be most visible to the audience. The hands. Sew the arms from wrist to shoulder to form tubes. Then sew the hands from the thumb to the base of the little finger. Make sure you leave a gap between the base of the little finger and the wrist. That'll be needed later to insert the armature, which we'll be making in another video. And a note on hands. The satin fabric used on the palm is fairly fragile, so when stitching it, try to avoid stitching too close to the edge of the material. Give yourself an extra few millimeters to ensure that the fabric doesn't rip when under strain. The body. Nothing special here, just sew it from top to bottom. The legs. Sew the legs from top to bottom to form tubes. Then sew the heel sections together on each foot, then work your way from the back of the heel around the base of the foot. With the exception of sewing the inner mouth to the head, you've now sewn everything together. But for now, before you should be a pile of parts. Congratulations, you're halfway to making this guy, or a variation of him. And now that the long and boring parts are over, we can move on to seeing this character come to life, starting with the arms. I'm Chris, and this has been part 3 of Puppet Building Agoro style. To keep following and to discover more content as we upload it, please subscribe to our channel, or give us a like, or hit that notification icon. And if you want to follow us on Facebook, I'd love it if you'd give us a like. Next up is part 4, Arms.